army. And both of these are exacerbated by HA's rebellion. Well, many of these are. Issues over taxation, lack of a standing army, come to heads with HA's rebellion. And can Washington step in and crush them? No, because they don't have the government doesn't have power to do that. So these issues come to head with the Constitutional Convention. However, there's issues over. There's some compromises that need to be made at the Constitutional Convention. What was the big compromise, the great compromise that was made? You talk too much. Mary? Yeah, issues over representation. And how is that going to play out? What was the conflict over representation? Someone else besides Kevin. Patrick?
Large states wanted seats in Congress divided by population.
Yeah.
Small states wanted each state to have an equal amount.
Large states population, small states wanted equal. And so the great compromise is population will be determined by which branch is determined by population. Yeah, the House of Representatives. And this is by the Senate. You know, I haven't fact checked this, but it's true. I don't think I told you this, but did you know that? Yeah, I'll just say true story at the end, and it'll be true. So California actually, am I out of the frame? That works. California, we actually send some of our prisoners to prisons in Utah because we don't have enough prison space for them. So much so that they're individuals, they're part of the population. I think it was predicted by this next election, we will have exported so many prisoners to Utah that it actually changes how many representatives we have in Congress. Isn't that scary?
True story?
True stories.
Wait, actually,
We're all gonna die.
question.
Yeah.
If they're criminals and they can't vote,
But they count for populations.
but they count for population, that's ironic.
Yeah.
America.
Sounds like
The
Did you see
unrepresented
this?
portion of the
Stare at this.
population is still represented in America.
Okay. Where am I at? Weaknesses. All right. U.S. Constitution. Big issues are amending the Constitution, fixing it a little bit, or dumping it and going with something else. Small states were in favor of that. Large states were in favor of something better than that. Big issues would also be Avery slave. Would the slave trade end? How would slaves count for issues of population and tax? If you're from the states, of course they're human when it counts for representatives in Congress. And of course they're not human when it comes to taxing. So the compromise is 3/5 for taxes and proportion for power in governments. Last issue of major issue that would be resolved is the issue of the president. Would there be one strong executive? Would we have an executive committee? Would there be a few people? Would it be one person? Should the president be chosen by the people or some intermediary body, which would be the Electoral College? Good times. All right. So the structure of the Constitution. 3 independent branches. The executive branch makes the laws. The legislative branch, enforces the laws. The legislative branch makes the laws, and the judicial branch interprets those laws. Good times. Principles behind the new Constitution: popular sovereignty, separation of powers, checks and balances, federalism, and most importantly, flexibility. What is the issue of flexibility? How is the Constitution? It's a good idea. How is the Constitution more flexible than the AOC? You talk too much. Yes?
provides the necessary and proper clause.
Yeah, necessary and proper clause, which allows you to make laws that are necessary and proper. Like we need to regulate the internet. Okay, I know George Washington in his infinite glory knew about the internet and was going to write down a law about regulating the internet, but they decided to just have the necessary and proper clause. Good times. Okay, examples to demonstrate the greater effectiveness of the Constitution would be suppressing the Whiskey Rebellion, negotiating Jay and Pinckney's treaties, and the abilities to get its fiscal house in order, Hamilton's plan. Oh, there was a question about Hamilton's plan last year. I don't know what it was.
Nice.
All right. Who is Hamilton?
I like that.
Come on, question. Okay. Do you have any questions about this story? The creation of the Constitution. It's reactionary. They don't want to have centralized government. This leads to problems. It can't get the job done. At least you could argue that. You could probably argue the other. Okay. Question?
So,
Yes.
The question I had was, remember last year we were arguing whether it was like Pinckney or Pickney?
Yeah.
Did you ever find out exactly what it was?
I think Mary looked it up. I think it's Pinckney, right? I'm pretty sure. But I'm to the point now
Did you
that
check Wikipedia?
it's like,
It's Wikipedia.
No, I can't do Wikipedia whatever it wanted to. Okay. So they create the AOC, our first constitution. It has severe problems, so the Constitution tries to deal with some of those problems to make it more effective. And in some ways it fixes those problems, and in some ways it makes it worse. I mean, it fixes all the problems. That's right, of course. The next big issue has to deal with the emergence of the two-party system, and essentially, it's the two-party system argues over the Constitution. You got the Federalists and the anti. No. Who are these people? Yeah, Democratic Republicans. And who's says a revolution every now and then is a good thing? Jefferson. Yeah, at least until he's in office. Okay, Federalists. And who's Washington's kind of staying out on the periphery, but who's touting the Federalists?
Adams.
Yeah, Adams and Hamilton. And what were some core issues that these people disagreed upon that would lead to the development of the two-party system? Someone else besides Monica?
Interpretation of the Constitution.
Yeah, but all of the issues deal with the interpretation of the Constitution. So what?
Strict view versus broad.
Yeah, but they're each going to have a strict view. So what are some issues that they're going to have? Kelso?
Well, broadly, it really had to do with the way the economy was run.
Yeah.
So Federalists were oriented towards a Renaissance-style merchant society, and Democratic Republicans were more agrarian,
Yeah.
decentralized.
Yeah. So issues over, I put in there the different forms of debt, Hamilton's fiscal plan, debt repayment, should we pay back at its face value? This right here, what's the guy that's in charge, not the guy that's in charge of the Fed. Not, gosh, I can't remember. There's some guy that reminds me a lot of Hamilton, the way that he speaks about like fiscal responsibility, and we have to pay off our debts, and it's very important.
Patrick?
No. Who's anybody?
Ron Paul.
No, he's no, you're on the right track though. Whatever. Anyways, so issues over something like foreign debt. Like foreign debt would be a good example, because during the war we accumulated this huge debt to France and to Spain. They lent us money, and so we have to pay it back. And Democratic Republicans are, with regard to foreign debt, they're all in favor. We got to pay it off, because if we ever need to borrow money from France again, if you're a deadbeat loser and you don't pay back your debts, you're both screwed. So they're both in favor of paying off foreign debt. But what's the type of debt that they disagree about? How to pay off? Yeah, bonds. And which of these two groups is in favor of, it says $10 or 10 whatever shillings? Which of these people thinks that it says 10, we have to pay it off at 10? Yes, Federalists! Okay, because they're in favor of what? how we look, like how people view